from the morning show. And you know how it is in life when you hear an incredible story and you try to share it with others, but we don't want to do that. We actually have the people here who have the story. Larry and Jennifer have the most incredible journey that they've been on together the past several months. And Larry, for you, it's been years. So we're actually going to have them share their story.
Larry, I wanted to see if you would be willing to kind of start at the beginning of this portion of your life, so to speak, to say, okay, we've got something going on. There's a problem, and I'm going to find myself kind of at the mercy of the process of how organ donation works. So we know that's where we're going, but tell about your life, your story, and how you got to this place.
Well, about 5 years ago, I found out that I was dealing with some kidney issues. It was called kidney renal failure. And I was actually at work, and I was at the Canfield Fair, or not Canfield Fair, but the Ohio State Fair. I'm from Youngstown, so I'm so used to saying Canfield Fair. But I was at the Ohio State Fair, and I got a call from the doctor saying, go to the hospital immediately. And I had no clue what was going on. And come to find out that my creatinine number was starting to go sky high, meaning my kidney functions was starting to deteriorate. So I got to the hospital that night, and that was actually June 25th of 2013. And that was the start of my understanding of life is about to change for me.
So what did that look like? Because life had been pretty normal leading up to that point.
Yes.
So if life's going to change, what's it changing to?
Well, I already have family members that's on dialysis and was dealing with kidney issues. But when the doctor said that I'll be starting dialysis, but he didn't know for sure when it was going to happen, that next day, the 26th, that's when they told me, yeah, you'll have to start dialysis immediately.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, like, oh my God, what is about to happen? Because, you know, I didn't think myself would be going through this at a young age. So come August 1st, that was my first day of dialysis of 2013. And started out at the hospital. It was about 4 hours. And then I did it the second day, and then I did it the third day, and then I went home. Then I skipped a day, and by then I was already in the process of finding dialysis centers and going through the whole process from there on for the next 5 years. So I ended up going 3 days a week, 5.5 hours. So I was like almost a part-time job, just being there.
And then you made the decision to apply to get a new kidney.
Yes.
And then that whole waiting period, 5 years, I cannot imagine how much that would rock your world. And I know for me, being a selfish, broken human being, that I would be mad at God and questioning him and doubting him.
Yes.
How did you get through that?
Well, that was one of my Goliaths, I call it.
Yeah.
One of my Goliaths was being angry and having addiction to, I'm just so used to being around the medicine and just getting comfortable. And it was fear of dying. I was scared of dying. And how I overcame it was finding Discover Christian Church, the church that I attend right now.
Yeah.
And being around a lot of Christian friends, Christian men, that's started to change my whole atmosphere and thinking of, okay, everything's going to be all right. Don't worry. It's going to be all right. So that's where the hope began. That's where my hope started at right then.
What was your relationship or knowledge of God before then? Did you see a dramatic change in that as well?
I ran from him. I had ran from him. I doubted him. I wasn't 100% trusting God like I should have been trusting God, you know, being growing up in church. But at that point, you know, I just didn't think nothing of God. But I figured this must be his way of getting a hold of me. Like, okay, let's see if you're going to really trust me now that I'm taking hold of your life. And from there on, I was like, okay, you got me. You got me. You woke me up. I hear you. I hear you calling.
No.
Well, and not only did he get your attention with that, but then he had an amazing person enter into your life. Share a little bit about who this is and how it all kind of came about?
So I joined a life group that we have at our church. And since joining that life group, I didn't know it was going to be actually a life group.
Right.
With my life being involved and her life being involved. So Jennifer and Derek, I love them to death. We already had a communication. We already had a relationship.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she said, you know what? I'm going to try. I'm going to see if I can become one of your become a donor for you. I said, okay. Like all other people, I didn't, get all hoop hurrah. Oh, wow, yes.
You're thinking
yes.
good intentions, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because I have been rejected a couple times with other people. So I just like, okay, here's the information. It's in your ball. It's in your ball court now. So
yeah.
Then January the 4th of this year, 2018, she sends me a text saying, I got approved to become your donor. And I was at a doctor's appointment with another gentleman, and he was finding out if he had cancer or not. So while I'm waiting on him, I'm getting this message. And so he comes out and said, hey, I don't have cancer. And I said, well, guess what? I just found out. I just found out that I have a donor.
What a great day.
Everything's approved. So this is a go. And he was like, what? Say what now? Say, what's going on? I said, oh, I didn't tell you? He was like, no. So of course we had this story and I told him, and I cried after I took him home. I just sat in the car and just cried and cried and cried. Then I couldn't even tell my mom because I was like, I'm going to wait until I get a surgery date. And then I'm going to tell my mom.
Okay.
But I couldn't hold it. This is something I couldn't hold back. I just start telling everybody. I even put it on Facebook. I'm like, it's official. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's about to happen. So, yeah.
Jennifer, did you react the same way when they found out they were going to take your kidney as opposed to?
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting is our story started in 2016. We met Larry in, I want to say it was 14 or 15.
About right.
Knew he was an amazing guy and became a friend of ours, was in our life group. We were really excited to do life together. And then Derek looks at me, my husband, and he says, we need to try. And I knew that Larry and I matched blood types. So I'm like, okay, I think I kind of have a clue. Maybe this is a possibility. Derek didn't match blood types, and so his story was over. Then our story got complicated. He had printed out our applications, and that application sat on my bookshelf for over a year. And I kept staring at that application. I'd pull it up and be like, yeah, okay, I know, maybe. Then in 2017, at the beginning of the year, Derek had a stroke, really massive stroke, and our lives were turned upside down. And I'm just thinking, okay, this is where our entire focus was. Then fast forward, and I will never forget the day. It was September 11th, which happens to be my daughter's birthday, and also I know a difficult day in our world. But for me, that was a life-changing day because I walked into the hospital where Larry was. He had had a very sick period, and I just remember thinking, this is one of those moments where if this infection was a bad thing, Larry could lose his life. Mm-hmm. And God looked at me and he said, yeah, and you've got a kidney, and I'm calling you to do this.
Man.
And I mean, I can't. And the really neat thing is when we were in the hospital, I was talking to his mom and she said, I know, because I saw that moment. She said, you went flush. And she said, something happened there. And I said, yeah, that was God calling me to give Larry a kidney. And I will never forget what that was like. I went home that day. I turned in that application. And I just said, okay, God, if this is you, if this is supposed to happen, make it happen. Open the doors. I didn't really talk much to Larry about it because I knew he had been through, like he'd had someone who'd gotten almost all the way.
Yeah.
And then it didn't work. And so I'm like, I was being very careful. I'd talk in our life group and be like, pray for this. But we were kind of doing okay, maybe it's going to, maybe something's not going to work out. Mm-hmm. And then January 4th happened and I got the phone call and I was like, really? I mean, I was just blown away. And I said, Derek,
you're like, I'm willing, but
it was honestly, I was so excited because I just, Larry needed this so badly and God was opening the doors. I mean, because when you look at our family, it's crazy.
Mhm.
Here I'm, a caregiver to Derek. His parents actually moved back up to Ohio from Florida to help
Okay.
us out. And I'm saying to them, okay, yeah, I know you're doing all this. And now we want to do one other thing. And you know what they said? They said, if God is going to give this kidney to Larry, we're going to make it happen. I mean, so
Wow.
just every single door in our life was open. And I was really excited. I mean, I honestly couldn't believe that God wanted to use me in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is great. And so I did text Larry, and it was just so exciting. And, then I started to tell people, and I'd be like, okay, I think this is really happening. But then people are like, you're awesome. You're amazing. And I'm like, no, really, guys, you got to understand, God is doing all of this. And I want God to get the glory because I'm just a willing participant. But
Wow.
he has opened every single door, and he has made it happen. And I mean, it is exciting, and in my world, I want everybody to know what an amazing thing it is because, I was able to help save a life. I
Mm-hmm.
was able to help my friend have such a better life, and it's just amazing. I mean, truly just blows me away.
Yeah.
So.
That's powerful, man.
Okay.
Larry, and I know that Mary and I got to meet you before the transplant happened, and we've seen you after the transplant, and we know the difference in just how you look, how you feel, how you sound.
Yeah.
How do you feel? I mean, I know the answer, but you got to say it in your own words, man.
Well, before that, when Jennifer had told me and I got all excited in the celebration, then it dawned on me like, wait a minute, what is she doing? I knew her story, I knew Derek's story, and we was praying for it. And I was like, wait a minute, why? I questioned God, like, why are you putting her through this when she's already going through a lot already? And I knew the healing process, and it was like, I don't think this is wise. I just don't think
Well,
this
you
is
told God
wise.
it wasn't smart to do that.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. You
Thanks,
bless
Josh.
me, but I'm like questioning you and telling you, hey, God, this was not a good move here.
We've
like,
all had that conversation. I just want to be sure.
So,
this was
it
one
was
of
just
those.
natural. Like, wait, seriously? Like, and then I had to ask her, like, are you sure
Mm-hmm.
you want to go through this? And she said, God said it. I said, okay, well, I questioned God, but I'm not going to do that again. But because something can happen, but now that everything is over and it's been 3 months as of last week, I feel wonderful.
Yeah.
I feel great. Where I work, I probably have more energy than I had within the last 5 years, and losing the weight, and just now I can drink a lot now and just have plenty of fluids. It's like it's remarkable. It's hard to explain. It's like you almost have to go through it to feel the difference.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those feelings that you just have to feel. It's like, when women have babies, like us men are not going to feel that.
Right.
But we can just imagine. But now it's like, it's unexplainable. It's really unexplainable. But I feel wonderful. I feel great. I feel so happy and energized. And
Mm-hmm.
And Jennifer, how about you? How is just not only physically, how are you feeling, but just your perspective on life? This is a life-changing thing forever that's a part of your journey. It's incredible.
Oh, yes. And I honestly feel great, too. I am just truly amazed. I got to about week 7, and I almost forgot at that point that I had done all this.
Wow.
And was like, okay, you know what? I'm really doing good. Besides some lifting restrictions that have finally been lifted, so I'm good and back. But, by that point, I was really feeling wonderful. And then it's still this, wow, I was able to do that. What an amazing thing. I mean, and I just really can't explain it beyond that, Yeah, there was some moments there, and, there were moments that my husband and I looked at each other and were like, neither of us can do anything right now.
Yeah.
But we were able to give this gift. And yeah, Larry is just doing so amazing. In fact, what was neat was one of the moments was Easter Sunday was Larry's first time being able to be back at church. And so we saw each other that morning, gave each other a hug, and it was just like, this is so awesome. That was like the best present ever.
yeah, that was our first time being at church together at
It
the
was.
same time after 4 or 5 months. So yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very exciting.
I'll never forget the day we were talking about it in the news. It was at Ohio State Hospital, and they had the pinwheels out in the yard showing all the organ donations and the lives saved. And then we talked to Larry on the phone, and he's like, we saw you that day, I think. And he said, my pinwheel's probably down there. So you went down there, and there it is. Hours later, we get on Facebook, and there's a picture of you with all of these pinwheels, and one of them was yours.
Yeah, all 3,900 or so pinwheels. One of them was mine, and then I actually called to find out, okay, which number am I?
Yeah, so you can go through all
So
of them.
they didn't have a record of it, but just to know that one of those represented me, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I thank Ohio State for their surgeries that they did. They did a great job.
Yeah.
Great job.
Wow, what a story you guys have. And I just thank you for your willingness to share and also to spread the news about organ donation and just being willing to put yourself out there. And that's not an easy thing to do. And it makes me feel like I need to start doing more in my life.
Well, I mean,
know?
a lot of times we recognize that what we have is not ours, money, our possessions, our time, those kinds of things. But my kidneys, I think those are mine. So
No, they're not.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, you even open up the eyes of all of us to know that God does do some amazing things in ways we don't expect, and don't close those doors on him, because for each one of us in our lives, he's going to do some amazing things if we just keep listening. And I'm thankful that you did, because Larry's a friend of ours now, and I'd say you're a friend of ours now, and we're glad to have been able to see this story kind of unfold and be able to share it, because people need to hear what God has done through you guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is, when God calls, listen, because he takes care of every single detail.
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome.
And that's why I like the river, because you guys put out the message about finding hope. There is hope. And being a living miracle and a living witness that there is hope out there. So for anyone that's out there struggling, keep your head up. There's hope at the end of the road. You might go through the bumps and the GPS might go off course, but trust me, it will reroute and you will find the end.
Oh, well,
That's awesome.
thank you guys so much.
Thank
we
you,
just
guys.
appreciate your willingness to share your story and just what you've done, who you are, and we just care about you guys. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks,
It's
guys.
our
for being
pleasure.
here.
Thanks for having us too. That was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.